So you want to be in this group, do you? You want to stand among the ranks of college football? Then you have to earn it. Let's go! Come with a hunger that you know will never stop.
You're either elite or you're not. And that's all we've been saying.
Be consistent, but unpredictable.
Cincinnati, the biggest win in school history.
Don't fear falling, because you know how to get back up.
The fight, Texas Aggies take down the top-ranked Tide.
Shine a little brighter, stretch a little further, all so you can climb just a little bit high.
Just scoop and score for the Buckeyes.
Simply put, win. Then win again, and again, and again. Make your case.
It's still a long season, you know our goal. Hey, let's go.
Then let the debate begin.
It has been a historic year of college football upsets.
Oh my gosh.
God, why are you yelling?
It's been chaotic.
Bro,
That's what I do. I yell. I'm a yeller. You know this. I always yell. I yell. I'm a yeller. Don't worry about him. Just worry about me. It's Ranking Reaction presented by Cheez-It. I'm sorry, you want me to be quieter for you?
Well, we've just been talking on the couch for a while, and then you took it up 18 octaves.
Yeah, that's what I do. Like I started at 10. That's, the level of energy here is through the roof. That's how we work things out. He's Mike Golic Jr. She's Christine Williamson. I'm Jason Fitz. And for the next hour, we're going to react to everything that's happened from the College Football Playoff Committee. They have spoken. We have been yelling about it. We've been eating our feelings because we're presented by Cheez-It. So what I know is that we've got white cheddar and we've got traditional. And over the course of the next hour, while we break it all down with some special guests and we give you all of the intelligent commentary you could possibly need, we're also going to shove our faces full of Cheez-Its galore. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Are we ready for this?
Love it.
By the way, this is our 5th year
That's
together.
crazy.
Christine, you've been with us 3 years on this show, right? And Mike and I started this show together 5 years ago. This is our 5th anniversary of this show, the first live stream show ever for ESPN right here.
I know. We used to do this on my dumb couch at home, and now we got a studio with all this fancy stuff, and I'm still talking with my mouth full like an idiot wearing a donut shirt. So.
Well, I'm just glad we're on this couch because my feet actually touch the ground on this one. You can send us your questions live, by the way. We're going to be fully interactive this year. So Christine's going to be monitoring some of the feedback that comes in, only the good stuff. Tell me I look skinny and I've been working out. And other than that, I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah, Jason's willing to tell everyone who listens that he's gained 2 inches on his chest this year.
Yeah, no, and I've taken 2 inches off my stomach.
Wait. How do you gain 2 inches on your chest?
Also, did you have someone measure your chest for you, or did you do it yourself?
I measured my chest and my stomach. You get the little tape for it, by the way, and that's the way it works. And Christine, you push-ups and then lifting, like I'm doing the work, team beach body. Oh, I'm putting it in.
Confused.
So that's legitimately surprising that Jason's able to do that. And I mean this sincerely. In the 5 years we've been doing this, this is the most insane first night of rankings that we've had so far.
This has been absolute chaos.
This was legitimately fun to wait for.
All right, so here are the top 6. By the way, I'm just going to peek behind the curtain. Luna, I can hear you in my ear right now. So I can't hear us, but I can hear you. Luna, no. So Georgia number 1.
Talking to you in your ear. Welcome to television, Jason.
Okay, they're sitting on a button right now, so I've been hearing them for a minute, Mike. Thanks. Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2. There we go. Michigan State number 3, Oregon number 4, Ohio State number 5, Cincinnati number 6. I'm back. I can hear everybody.
Oh,
all right, so
God.
we get total chaos out of the top 4. In the eyes of some at this couch that did not like these.
No, I didn't think that the top 4 was total chaos. I was a little confused about the Oregon over Ohio State, but I think that we can see that the committee is taking the eye test as the most important thing right now, just because obviously, Alabama obviously is the number 2 team in the country. We know that, and they have them at number 2, so it makes sense. But it just proves that the eye test is something that they're really weighing, I feel like, in this year's ranking.
And head-to-head, because listen, if you were going to go strictly by eye test in this entire outfit, Ohio State would have been above Oregon. That's the way it was in the rankings for the AP, and that's the way a lot of people were looking at this entire situation heading into it. I saw more than a few people that were ready to justify Ohio State over Oregon. I thought, all right, you know what? We're only midway through the season. That head-to-head's got to matter a little bit. I understand some of the circumstances a human committee is supposed to take into account. Joe Moorhead, Oregon's offensive coordinator, wasn't there for that Stanford loss. Controversial pass interference penalty. all of that led to them putting Oregon where I thought. So head-to-head also a huge factor in all this.
Well, and I was wrong earlier today. I was with you on Canty and Golic Jr. on ESPN Radio, which you should check out. And I said at the time that I had 3 of the top 4 right. I was going Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State. I had Ohio State at 4, even though Oregon beat them. And that's one of the things, like I always remind people with the committee, we're going to talk a lot about this. If you got 13 of your smartest buddies in a room and said, what's the best pizza in town? And you had to come up with one consensus list, that's not easy to do, y'all. So there is an element, I think each of us would have had a different team at number 4.
I think my thing, though, is Oregon is not going to lose another game, most likely, for the rest of the season. Are they going to be in the Final Four at the end of the season? That's my biggest question, because do you really think that Oregon is the number 4 team in the country right now?
Well, based on the love they've got for Ohio State, and we see this every year where in college football, what are the things that everyone's considering in that committee room? That Jason mentioned, 7 new members of the 13 this year. Tyrone Willingham was a part of the first committee. He's also back in that group. So what are they looking at here? We know strength of schedule is up there. Strength of resume, what the average team would do against your schedule is huge for the committee. But also the eye test, head-to-head, and eventually conference championships. So what have we seen here with that Oregon squad, with everyone else in here, is the value of 2 of those former ones, the eye test and the head-to-head schedule on all of this. What's coming up for them, I don't think factors in nearly as much.
Yeah, but it will by the end of the year, because what are we going to do at the end of the year if Ohio State blows through the rest of their schedule? They have 1 loss, and that happens to be to Oregon, but we're talking about an Ohio State team that has now beaten much better teams than Oregon has left.
And
Ohio State's got a leapfrog them, right?
Oregon at UW, home versus Washington State, at Utah, and then home versus Oregon
And
State.
what's ever the justification if they're in the top 4 in the week 1 of the rankings to take them out just because if they win out?
Well, I mean, we've seen that in the past. I mean, the first year of this 2015, TCU getting leapfrog at the end of the year when you had Ohio State in dominant fashion bludgeon Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game.
True.
I guess that's my point with all this is every team besides Cincinnati sitting there at 6, I believe with all the way down to Oklahoma, who we're going to get to here in a couple of minutes, have the ability to control their own destiny going forward, except for Cincinnati. And that's the other big message everyone was waiting for tonight that got received loud and clear. Did someone already say that? And I missed
No.
I
We're just like looking at each other.
We're looking at each other. We're just having fun, Mike. We're just having fun.
I feel like you're keeping secrets over me now.
No.
I don't like this.
I will say, though, that there
feelings.
is like this weird, you're right, that, every week, and the committee's told to do this, every week they're supposed to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're not adding on to the jigsaw puzzle every week. They're actually starting a puzzle all over from scratch every week. So every week it could be different because while right now there's not some big resume difference that supports Ohio State moving ahead of Oregon, in 3 weeks there might be. So they can just go under the guise of, well, now the complete body of work has changed, and so head-to-head matters less. So that's one of the frustrating, we all have to remember, every week we can just crumple it up, throw it away, and start over.
That was also week 2, and you're allowed to get better. College football, I think, especially as a sport, development over time is such a huge part of this because these are 18 to 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so you could sell me if Ohio State goes out and beats Michigan State and beats Michigan in the game at the end of the season here, that, oh, hey, you know what? We saw what happened in week 2, but you guys addressed your defensive issues.
And I think
C.J. Stroud got better as the year went on.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people think that if they were to play right now, Ohio State would win that matchup. I want to talk about Cincinnati a little bit, though, because I feel like this is the one year that they could have done this. If the CFP looks like it does right now throughout the rest, like if it's always going to be a 4-team CFP, how in the world is a group of 5 team going to get into the college football playoff? I feel like it's impossible.
Yeah, they're not.
Like, it's just never going to happen. I feel like this is the one year that it could have happened. Everybody said that last year because it was such a weird year, but like this year was really weird too. Alabama took a loss to Texas A&M. Like, what the heck is going on? I feel like this is a year that they could, but like when you look at it, you know that Cincinnati isn't one of the top teams in the country. So it makes sense. I mean, they're a top team, but they're not a top 4 team. So it makes sense, but also it's like, what is the thing that gets a group of 5 team into this CFP?
So Cincinnati is the highest ranked group of 5 team ever in the CFP era, sitting right now at 6. So they've already broken through what was a ceiling before.
But the ceiling was 7. So
The
it's
ceiling, yeah, but that was 7 at the end of the year. Like, we're talking this in the first ranking too.
True.
So they started farther ahead. But to your guys' point, what was the charge for the group of 5 always? Schedule tough non-con. The AAC is not going to be enough. The Sun Belt's not going to be enough. So they went on the road against IU, on the road against Notre Dame.
Right.
They couldn't control that IU bottomed out this year. Notre Dame's held strong. They're in a top 10 team. But like when you look at that, scheduling 2 non-conference road games in the Power 5, only no teams in the SEC and one team in the Big Ten being Purdue. We're going to do that all season no matter what, let alone a team of the caliber of Notre Dame. So I can understand the frustration, but this is another eye test one where, and we'll talk to Gary Barta in a little bit, the chair of the committee here. The last 2 weeks, I was on the call for the Tulane game where, a lot like Oklahoma against Kansas, you got a noon Eastern kick on a road environment where that stadium was half full and there wasn't a lot of juice against a 1-6 football team. And Cincinnati slipped up in a way that the burden of proof is on the group of 5 right now. You got to prove that the rest of your strength of schedule that's never going to be there can be overcome by you being dominant.
So every year, for the last couple of years, I've been big on these AAC teams in general. I feel like, because I love chaos and I want to see absolute chaos, and I love the concept of group of 5 making it because it feels like it sets precedent.
And it's good football being played there.
1,000%. That being said, now that I've qualified this statement, I'll stay out of my menchies. I don't really give a damn what Cincinnati fans want at this point, and they don't belong in the top 4.
Yeah,
because clearly right now, if I had to bet my house on Alabama versus Cincinnati, I'm taking Alabama. If I had to bet my house on Michigan State versus Cincinnati, I'm taking Michigan State. Like, I'm looking across the board and saying, I don't have a problem with where they're ranked because the teams that are ahead of them on a neutral field today are better than they are. And this isn't a participation award system. I don't care that you're undefeated. It's the top 4. Like, they're charged with giving you the best 4.
I mean, that can't be the case. Like, that can be an important part of all of this, especially when we get down towards the end of the year and we've got more fleshed out resumes. The wins and losses still got to matter. Like, I say this from a bit of place of sensitivity. Like, man, I'm the poster for an undefeated team that had a few close scares along the way and didn't exactly dominate competition back in 2012 when the BCS computers were picking stuff here.
Right.
It's just strange to see here because we're going to get to their ranking in a little bit here. But the way they graded Oklahoma, to me, indicates they've watched a lot of what's gone on here.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man.
I agree, and I disagree with that. But I will say, do you feel like if Cincinnati didn't play as poorly as they did against Tulane last week, they would have been at number 6?
Yeah, I think the eye test would have given them, and I hate that phrase too, but like the eye test would have given them a higher ranking. They go in and rail everybody, and you're looking at it a little bit like we've looked at Clemson some years where. But the thing of it is, like, you know, I constantly say, especially college football fans, like, we're not 12-year-old kids. So, well, they did this for this person. Doesn't really matter. Like, what they did last year in the committee or in previous years with Clemson, I don't really care about. Like, this year, top 4. And I hear you that the wins have to matter. But what I will ask you, I'll challenge you on that and say, what's more significant, beating up on a bunch of nobodies or a loss to a top 15 team? Because that's what Alabama has right now. Alabama has a loss to a top 15 team. That's still, like, what would Cincinnati do if they were playing a top 15 team?
Listen, and this is my point in all this. I think in the rankings right now, what Cincinnati's done was deserving of a shot in that top 4, because I'm going to take the resume and the eye test as a part of it. Eye test wise, do I think Cincinnati right now is one of the best 4 teams in college football? No, I do not. But I think the rest of that has to matter to a certain point here. But what you talked about is my contention with the group of 5 is, if we're going to act like Cincinnati beating 5-3 teams in the American is the same as Alabama beating 5-3 teams in the SEC or in any of these Power 5s, we know the resources are different. We know the caliber of athlete that ends up at these schools are different. So why are we going to then act like the same result on the other side is the same? That's the bridge too far for me in all this. I think that there are understandable reasons why the burden of proof lies in a group of 5 team to go out and not only win, but to dominate against what is comparatively lesser opponents.
Now, we've looked at 1 through 6. 7 through 10 also gives us some more indications of some of the teams that are on the outside looking in. One that Christine's really hot on here is you see Michigan at number 7 after the big loss, I say the big game, the incredible game against Michigan State. Oklahoma undefeated, sitting at 8. Wake Forest undefeated, sitting at 9. Notre Dame, just because Mike greased somebody's pocket, sitting at 10 at 7-1. So, other than Notre Dame not belonging, what other objections do we have here? I'm just throwing
Here's my thing. And I know, Mike, that you said that you feel like the fact that Oklahoma is at number 8 means that the committee is doing the eye test and they know that Oklahoma, as a Power 5 team that's unranked, or not unranked, that's undefeated, is at number 8 means something. But in my opinion, they are doing everything in their power to get a Big 12 team into the CFP, because we haven't looked at these ones yet. But if you look at the teams that they still have to play, they're currently, I think, either 10 or 11 and 11 and 12. So they're really high. And they actually are ranked higher than the wins that Alabama has had, who is currently at number 2. So in my mind, Oklahoma has a really good path into the CFP. And I feel like we just listened to Greg Barta talk to Reese Davis, and he said that they don't look at the future, but I feel like they obviously look at the future. And so in my opinion, Oklahoma, they still have Baylor and Oklahoma State. And those 2 wins, I feel like will give them a way into the CFP like other teams don't have a way into the CFP.
To Jason's point, this is a starting point, and it's non-linear from here on out. That's how it's supposed to be each and every week, considered anew in all this. I'd say this, I don't think they're actively considering the future, but I think they're human beings, right? We all look at their schedule, and we all talk about remaining strength of schedule as a metric. I mean, hell, when I'm sitting here trying to make my rankings and come up with stuff for this, I'm looking at remaining strength of schedule and saying, all right, what does the path forward look like? Just for kind of context on where we are at this point in the season here. And I think to say that a human committee isn't going to have some of that seep in here would be disingenuous.
Yeah, and that's what, is always interesting because it is a human committee. So we're going to break down that human committee, by the way, with a guest. We're going to get one of the best in the business, our favorite that covers it better than anybody, Heather Dinich, joining us on the show. I think we have Heather now, and we do have Heather. Hey, Heather, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Obviously, everybody's had their eyes on this. So we've been reacting to Cincinnati. What's your reaction to where the committee put them?
Well, I was a little bit surprised they were that low. I thought if they weren't in the top 4, I thought they'd be right on the bubble at number 5. But it also doesn't surprise me because while there's been turnover on the committee and new faces, their protocol hasn't changed and their standard for strength of schedule clearly hasn't changed. Cincinnati went into this ranked 100th in the country in strength of schedule. And when you look at wins at Navy and then at Tulane, and Tulane had its 3rd-string quarterback in, those 2 programs are a combined 3-13. Look, the selection committee watches all of this. In those games, Cincinnati didn't dominate. And, when you're comparing them with some of those other teams, Alabama has, you look at Michigan, Michigan State, and where those opponents are ranked matters too. And Michigan is higher than where Notre Dame is. So all those things add up, and because of that strength of schedule, I'm not necessarily too surprised, but I think that Cincinnati is in a hole it might not get out of.
Okay, so you say you're not surprised about where Cincinnati is. They're currently at number 6. I feel like there were some things that were a little bit surprising to us. Is there anything that surprised you about what the committee did?
I was surprised Oregon was at number 4. I'll say that. I mean, I thought that they would honor the head-to-head, but I guess at the end of the day, what did surprise me was that order of 4, 5, 6, because you have the head-to-head with the Ducks. They haven't dominated, but again, this is evidence that the selection committee pays attention to more than just the score. When you look at what Oregon has gone through, they have been decimated by injuries. I'm not sure people realize that Alex Forsythe, their starting center, missed 4 straight games with back spasms. I was at the UCLA game. He was supposed to go in. He was ready to warm up, and he couldn't. So all of those things, and then not having their offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead, in the Stanford game, they pay attention to those things. So the head-to-head over Ohio State, to me, says 2 things. 1, the Pac-12's playoff hopes are for real. And 2, both of these teams can finish in the top 4.
Heather, let's go to one of the other Power 5 conferences here. Oklahoma, I think a lot of people surprised, checks in all the way down at number 8. They're undefeated in the Power 5, and they've got 2 ranked matchups left. Is this a team that controls its own destiny from here on out in the playoff race?
Look, I think one of the things that's important is where the selection committee ranked Oklahoma State and Baylor. I got to look down to remember where it was. Baylor's number 12, and Oklahoma State checked in right before them at number 11. That's very important because that's 2 of their last 3 opponents, and both of those games are on the road. If the Sooners run the table and finish as an undefeated Big 12 champ, I find it very hard to believe that they would be left out. I think they're a lock as undefeated Big 12 champs. Even if they lose 1 game, though, 2 of those last 3 games, in my mind, gives them a great case to leap up there, maybe even ahead of Oregon. But that win against Ohio State clearly is hard to beat.
All right, Heather, Christine's over here just gloating because she's been saying it the whole time. Do you believe that the committee comes in and says with certain teams or certain conferences, we want to get them into this process? Because she's of the belief that they're trying to give a path to get Oklahoma
in. I just saw the path, and I was like, hold on.
Let's just address the conspiracy theory.
Right now.
Well, here's the thing. Consider this, guys. If the selection committee caved to pressure, considering all of the noise that's out there about Cincinnati and the group of five, don't you think that they would do what they could do to finagle them into that 4th spot? I mean, they don't care, right? They clearly don't care. And it wasn't difficult for them to put a 1-loss Alabama ahead of those undefeated teams. So they're doing their thing.
All right, so speaking of 1-loss Alabama, before we let you get out of here, Heather, Mike and I have been arguing. Mommy and Daddy are fighting on the show at this point because he says a 2-loss Alabama can't get into the playoff. I say Alabama loses an epic SEC championship game. They could still sneak in. What say you, Heather Dinich?
Well, I say that because they are number 2 right now, I wouldn't close the door on it, but it would be very hard for them to justify. It's hard to answer that question in a vacuum because we don't know what happens in those other Power 5 conference championship games. But when you look at Alabama right now, ranked in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, they're passing the eye test, and that matters, and that's outweighed that loss to Texas A&M. So it has to be an instant classic, close game. Go ahead, throw overtime in there, but I wouldn't rule it out.
See, all I heard there is Heather said I was right. Heather, you are the best, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Have a great time. We appreciate your insight.
Thanks, guys.
So Heather's never
go to hell, Jason.
I mean, now I'm really.
I will say to Christine's point here. If the committee wanted Oregon in, or Oklahoma in, they could have ranked the undefeated Power 5 team in the top 4 of the college football playoff.
Because of the eye test. Oklahoma is not a good football team. They don't, Caleb Williams is their quarterback right now, and he hasn't been their quarterback for that long. Spencer Rattler came in and was absolutely not what we thought he was going to be. So they know that. Because that's been literally a storyline happening in Norman for a very long time.
Which could have been more reason for them to say, based on trajectory where we think they're going with Caleb Williams, we can rank them higher than we would have based on the early games.
They can't do that now. But I think they gave them a clear path into the CFP.
What movie did you watch this past weekend when you were coming back from the road? What movie did you watch this past weekend?
I haven't been watching any movies, but I have been listening to a lot of true crime podcasts.
Oh, God in heaven.
So I'm all about a conspiracy, okay? I'm all about a conspiracy.
Oh, my God. Can we get more rankings?
Yeah, well, no. I've got to ask a very important question. And by the way, it's Rankings Reaction presented by Cheez-It, Mike Golic Jr., Christine Williamson. I'm Jason Fitz. Here's the real question, and it's Cheez-It related. We have multiple flavors here, right? And here we have the white cheddar, and over there we have the traditional. My question is, why did we do 2 bowls that are not commingled? At this point, I now have to make the decision that I want to spend the whole hour with this bowl.
Unfortunately,
what if I want that bowl? You're sitting in the middle.
Listen, number 1, Christina's the smartest, so she sat in the middle of all this, so she understood this. And number 2, man, it's about visual presentation. Put it on that front camera. Put it on camera 2 right now. You look at
Mike's now a director. This is
2 colors over there. That's beautiful right there. You want them commingled so it doesn't pop? No, this is pizzazz, man. This pops. Give the people what they want.
Okay.
Jeez.
I agree with that.
Oh, thanks, Christine. This is what's happening.
I'm just letting go just be right about one thing today.
Listen, I need to win where I can get it. I want to ask you guys what, Christine, what you asked Heather. What surprised you guys the most out of all of this here? Maybe outside of just, Cincinnati at 6. I think some people were surprised by that, some weren't. What was the most surprising thing to you guys?
Well, I think the most surprising... Are you okay?
Yes.
Oh, no. Help me.
I like that I was on my single just for that, too. Thank you.
So a couple of things. One, if you'd have told me a week ago right now that Michigan State was going to be number 3, even with the win over Michigan, I think that's a little surprising. We've sort of put Michigan has... As much as I love Sparty, I will say this: Michigan State doesn't have a win over another team in the Power 5 that's above 500.
No, but they do have Kenneth Walker, who's a Heisman front runner right now.
There's no doubt about it. But to think that catapulted one big win can get you all the way to number 3. As much as I've been pro Sparty all year, I think that's we're underselling how surprising that is.
I think I'm most surprised about Oregon.
Yeah.
Because obviously the head-to-head makes sense, but still it's a Pac-12 team who's it's been pretty weak. And obviously, like I said, the head-to-head makes sense. I think the committee was we can't. They voted on it, but I think they said we can't put Oregon behind Ohio State because Oregon beat Ohio State. And I feel like eventually they obviously know that Oregon is not going to be in the top 4, but I am still surprised that they're in the top 4 right now.
All right, so we're going to do some social media check-in.
Yes,
right?
And this is my favorite tweet that I saw because it has to do with exactly what I said, okay? Lincoln Riley is going to send the CFP Selection Committee a gift basket. Best thing that could have happened to Oklahoma.
Is that from Gabe?
Can I just
Gabe.
real quick though?
Gabe Eichert, former Oklahoma center, chiming in on that one.
Can I just ask a question?
It was biased.
Like, why are we presuming that an Oklahoma team that's ranked number 8, because if you watch the games this year, they haven't looked very good, is suddenly going to just run through the rest of the Big 12? Like,
that's true.
I mean, this is a team that didn't deserve to beat Kansas. Like, it took a miracle. Oh my God, is that even legal? We were all texting
That's why
people
it doesn't
trying
make
to.
sense that they're number 8.
Well,
Yeah, I'm going to say, that's why it makes perfect sense that they're number 8. I thought they were going to be up in the top 6. So them being down at 8 is proof that we watched all these games. And by the way, proof that what have you done for me lately weighs heavy on this committee. Because again, if Cincinnati goes and rolls Tulane in that last game that I was calling against their third string quarterback, like Heather mentioned, I think we're talking about a team that might have crept up a little higher here. So I think that matters for Oklahoma.
That's a really good point, and that I think we're going to get a strong example of next week. Because we'll know, if you watch these teams closely now, like, what do the margins of victory look like? You have anything else?
Jeff Schwartz.
Worth noting, margin of victory not supposed to be considered, but it is.
Well, yes, but the
humans.
margin of victory came from somewhere.
Jeff Schwartz said, well, Georgia and Alabama are guaranteed to make the playoff now, sweet. Even if, I mean, obviously, like Fitz said, they get 2 losses for Bama. Do you think that'll...
all of this is so hard to call because the how matters a ton. Like to Jason's point, if it's the greatest college football game ever played, and we get a 9 overtime special like we got from Penn State and Illinois, and it ends with Alabama ups or Georgia ups, winning against Alabama here, could I see them putting 2-loss Alabama in then? Yes. If Georgia goes out and does what they've done the rest of the year and beats Alabama by 10 points, Alabama's not going to be in there with 2 losses and a 10-point loss to Georgia in the SEC title game. So let's not act like it's that simple as, well, if they're both just in there, because that's not true.
I need one of 2 things as a lover of college football chaos. I either need a 2-loss Alabama team to make the playoff, or to end up with a playoff that is only 2 teams from the SEC and 2 teams from the Big Ten.
Stop
2
right
and 2,
now.
Just to create total chaos so everybody's angry.
No way in the world that would ever happen.
That does seem kind of possible because, like, quietly in all this, the situation to me that's funny is we go, well, yeah, if Alabama beats Georgia, like, have you seen the Georgia defense this year? They deserve a spot in this ranking by themselves.
That's true.
Like Jordan Davis and company over there, that's the best defense I've seen with my eyes in college football in my lifetime. And I was a year removed from that 2011 Alabama defense. That's the predecessor to all of this. So,
all right, so we're going to get you caught up on 11 through 15 real quick. 11 through 15 is the rest of the rankings we've been talking about. Oklahoma State, Baylor, 11-12, significant to Oklahoma. Auburn, 13, Texas A&M, 14, BYU sitting at 15. So any big surprises there, guys?
I don't think so. Now, this is where it gets surprising because at 17, we've got Mississippi State. That is the highest ranked 3-loss team ever in the committee's initial ranking.
Bama's number 2. That goes back to Bama. Like, they have to give Alabama, regardless of the eye test, they have to give Alabama some good wins, right? They beat Mississippi State. I mean, that's a good win.
They beat them 49-9.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's why they're number 17 right now.
Well, and I mean, like, so Mississippi State, what's on their resume? Good out-of-conference win against NC State, who is somehow ranked at 19th there, despite having just lost to Miami on the road there. So do with that what you will. And then you've got Kentucky at 18 right there. That Mississippi State also, again, the recency bias of some of this, Mississippi State just goes out and gets that win against Kentucky, and so now all this looks real good. They also own a win versus that Texas A&M team that beat Alabama. So that's how we get here the SEC respect from this.
Yeah, this was a big surprise to us. 21, Wisconsin at 5-3. Wisconsin has a head-to-head win over Penn State. Penn State not ranked, Wisconsin ranked.
No, Penn State has a head-to-head win
over Wisconsin.
My bad.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's the issue. Where's Penn State on this list?
A little surprise there that Wisconsin came in. And Iowa, remember when they were number 2? 6-2 at number 22. Fresno State, San Diego State, and Pitt round out your top 25.
We tried.
I get that you feel like you've got to probably put, and I'm getting mad about like the least part of all this. I get you feel like you might have to put Iowa in over Penn State because of the head-to-head win, but acknowledging the situation, if Sean Clifford doesn't get knocked out of that game, Penn State's not losing. Like that Penn State team that just went toe-to-toe with the Ohio State team that we all love so much. I thought they good lost their way above Iowa in that one. I get that they're 5-3, but if you're going to put Wisconsin there above Iowa, I shudder to see any world where Penn State's not involved in that, especially given the context of that Iowa loss. I'm sorry.
He's Mike Golic Jr. She's Christine Williamson. I'm Jason Fitz. You're watching Rankings Reactions presented by Cheez-It. One of the things that's amazing about this show every week is that we get to talk to the man that's in charge of the whole thing. We're joined now by Gary Barta. He's the head of the College Football Playoff Committee. Gary, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get into, I know, but we'll ask the simple one here. What was the biggest debate in the room as you guys tried to figure out the top 25?
Well, the biggest debate, we really had a logjam. I would say that 1 and 2 kind of had a lot of consensus behind it. But 3 through 9 is where we spent the most of our time. The greatest debate was all the way from 3 down to 9. We probably spent a couple of hours on that alone last night and then revisited it again this morning. So that was the trickiest part. There's a lot of different ways you can go inside of that grouping.
I don't know. I want to ask about Cincinnati, but I'm not going to do that because I do have another question before we get to that specifically. You've obviously been a part of this process before. Would you say that this was the hardest? Because I think last year we were like, oh, this is so hard. It's 2020, everything. Nobody's playing each other. But like this one seems like it might have been even tougher than that.
I would definitely, my memory has not been lost on what we went through last year. So last year was definitely more difficult. I would, but it was COVID driven. I would agree with you that my first year, I wasn't the chair, but my first year was quote unquote normal. And this season, now this is just week 1. We have a lot of football to play yet, but this first week, there were a lot of moving parts. This one was more challenging than 2019.
Gary, I know you mentioned when you were talking to Reese and company on the show reveal this earlier in the hour, with Cincinnati sitting down there at 6, who else have they beaten along the way? Would it be fair to say that if they had beaten Navy and Tulane more convincingly in the last couple of weeks, that would have improved their chances a lot? Was that recency weighed in on this?
So I don't want to, hypothetically, what would have happened if something else would have happened? But I will tell you that factored into it. You know, those last 2 weeks, as you're getting ready to have your first rating session, the first process, the CFP process, watching the great win at Notre Dame. And nobody's going to take anything away from Cincinnati's win at Notre Dame. But the last 2 weeks, looking for that team to just excel and watching them, a 2-6 Navy and 1-7 Tulane struggle, that certainly factored into the conversation, like it does for any team.
I mean, Gary, at some point, we jokingly said earlier, asking 13 people to decide to agree on what pizza is the best is impossible to do. So getting 13 people to decide on what teams are the best, very difficult. Understanding that everything is a metric and none is the metric, would you say that this particular group is valuing the eye test because of the way these rankings played out?
Every group, anytime you have a team of people, so we have 13 people, they're on a team, and it changes a little bit every year because of turnover. This year we had 7 new members. We have 7 new members on the group. So it's where is everybody going to focus their expertise, their energy? I would tell you that watching the games, in my 3rd year, it's so important to watch the games. So there's no doubt that those 13 people are watching the games. Watching, Michigan State beat Michigan this weekend, or watching, just go down the list, it always makes a difference. But big wins against ranked teams, against, head-to-head, all of that still matters. Not just, but watching Ohio State and how they played earlier in the year compared to how they're playing now. Or watching, I heard, I was listening in on you guys a little bit earlier, watching Georgia through the whole year. It doesn't take an expert to notice that they're the best team in the country right now as of this week. So watching the games is important, makes a difference, but so do all the other metrics.
And you led me right to where I wanted to go. Ohio State and the improvement, been a huge story. For a lot of people, that would have vaulted them above Oregon, who beat them earlier in the season. So is there a sort of breaking point where a head-to-head win can only go so far, even though Oregon right now ranked above Ohio State?
Yeah, in week 1, it came down to a lot of discussion back and forth about who Oregon had beaten, who Ohio State had beaten. And then, as you mentioned, Ohio State just is on a roll offensively. It's going to be interesting to watch who can stop them, if anybody does, moving forward. But for right now, this week, it was close enough between those two that the head-to-head definitely came into the conversation when we put Oregon ahead of Ohio State.
All right, Gary, I got to ask you one quick fun one before we let you go, because we like to have fun on this show. There's good buffet spread out there. What was the best thing on the buffet as you guys were breaking it all down, Gary?
They had something called spoon bread. I've never had spoon bread before, so that was a new one on me. We are well fed. I have to work really hard to make sure that at the end of this process, I haven't gained 10 pounds before I look up. But don't worry about us going hungry.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your time and your insight. We look forward to hanging out with you throughout this process and more buffet updates. Thank you so much, Gary.
All right, thanks. See you later.
Spoon bread.
I feel like I've had it before, but then I was thinking about it, and I think I'm going to get confused with, like, something else.
You're thinking about, like, bread pudding, maybe?
No,
Yeah, spoon
I was
bread
thinking
is
like a dessert type thing.
I think it might be a monkey bread sort of thing. I don't know. But I do know that this is, I'm consistent. At least last year, the first time we talked to Gary, I believe I was in some sort of random Halloween costume or a Christmas sweater. So I feel like this was a little bit more professional.
Really? I'm wearing a donut button down.
I didn't talk about you. I'm only worried about myself.
You're wearing a Super Mario Brothers t-shirt.
I said it was more
You're
professional.
a 44-year-old
I didn't say
man.
it was actually professional. I just said it was more.
A little bit more.
At least I didn't ask him about your hacky conspiracy theories.
I almost asked him about that, but I was like, let me. Hey, you are in Dallas, Texas. Aren't you guys right across the street from the Big 12? He's like, no.
All right, I'm going to move us along. All right, I cannot believe we just went there. Okay, it is time now. We've reached that time in the show. It's time now for Crunch Time, brought to you by Cheez-It. We're going to get you some of the plays you need to see. Crunch Time, presented by Cheez-It, starts with this play just for Mike Golic Jr.
No.
Why? Because what we've got is Sean Clifford getting back there and then up. Big boy, thick six.
The thick six. One of the most beautiful instances handcrafted by God or man in this galaxy. Just look at the big fella. Jaron Cager, would I be preferred that he wore the number 0? Yes, absolutely. Am I in awe of his running form in here? You better believe it here.
Yeah, that's a swiggity swig. You went for that booty. That was well done.
What's the water down the back do?
Oh, God, you got to cool it down a little bit. Now, I know every trainer is going to say that water goes in the tank and not on it, but in an instance like this, you can see the young man's running hot because he had heat coming from the feet here.
All right, we move on here to Texas Tech, Oklahoma. Eric Uzikama with this one. Oh, goes up. Man, that likes
Those
his
are what they
berries and
call
cream.
sticky hands.
Oh, my God.
Give me that.
Uzikama, one of the best receivers in Texas Tech school history here. Probably the only true playmaker on that Texas Tech team that's now going out and trying to do all this without their head coach, Matt Wells.
Yeah, and by the way, just the way he squeezes the ball in, even when they're ripping at his arms, to me, is such strength.
That boy's strong.
No, that's strength with an F.
Strength. They are in Texas, so you can do it real country.
Strength.
And then we've got this one, little Michigan State love. This is the pick that sent everybody into a frenzy. Go Gadget Arms. I would like the ball, good sir.
Yeet.
Spartans.
Charles Brantley with the snatch there.
My favorite thing ever about playing Michigan State, is that at their stadium in East Lansing, when they announced the lineup, the student section, they would used to put the video from 300 up where they would say, Spartans, what is your profession? And the whole student section hit you with the, oh.
They didn't do that. We were at that game, and they didn't do that this week.
Well, I'm going to say, clearly, Michigan State, I don't know why you're forgetting what worked well for you for so long. And when I say worked well, I mean allowed for Notre Dame to come in and beat you by double digits.
Wow. Speaking of fans at Michigan State, don't forget fans to use sorry, I'll try all that again. Fans, don't forget Cheez-It running the MV Cheese fan contest this season. Use hashtag MV Cheese contest. Tweet a photo or video that shows us your college football spirit. You get entered to win a trip to the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando. Look at Mike painting his
We
head
are
there.
such great fans.
Yeah.
We really are. I do love how, Christine got to dance and I had to paint my head.
Well, I will say that when they said that we were painting our heads, I thought they meant I was included. So I was really glad that you had
I took that sacrifice on there. I look great in orange, though, for what
I
it's
will
worth.
say, though, you have
really
such a
solid.
boomy, recognizable voice. I really appreciate it because every time I'm watching football on Saturdays and they cut into the Cheez-It thing that has the three of us standing there, I just hear Mike's like,
the whole
I'm like,
of cheese.
The whole of cheese.
I'm like,
My God.
It's very
Mike
official.
Cheez-It Santa Claus? That's what I sound like.
You are. You literally are.
Does that
By the
make me a
way,
Cheez-It elf?
Let's get that costume in the works for when we get closer to December.
I mean,
Let's get working here. Cheez-It Santa.
If you're Cheez-It Santa, does that make...
You're a Cheez-It elf.
Oh, that'd actually be a really good costume.
I'm going to say, wouldn't he be cute as a little elf?
Why's he got to be little? I'm 5'9" and a quarter.
That's
like
shorter
my
than,
feet
that's
touch
shorter
the
than
ground
me.
at this.
That's shorter than me.
That is
Okay, well,
shorter,
you
Christine.
played volleyball in college.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, if
you're the
you're
shortest person on the couch.
Yep. If you're
That's
just
an
joining
objective
us,
metric that the committee uses. You're little.
it's going to be a long
You
season.
talked about how your feet barely touch the ground on Gojo's couch.
It's a big couch.
It used to be so funny
My
watching
feet
his
touch the
little
ground.
legs dangle there.
Oh, yeah, I have the
my
same
feet
problem
touch
on
the ground.
Saturdays when I'm hanging out here.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, it's time for the top six. It's
I love them
rankings reaction
gently
presented by
judging us.
Cheez-It. The top 6 teams in all the land. Georgia, number 1.
Georgia.
Alabama sitting at number 2. Michigan State, Sparty at 3. Oregon at 4. At number 5, Ohio State, OHIO. And at number 6, staying in the same state, Skyline Chili, Grader's Ice Cream, Cincinnati Bearcats.
The site of College Game Day this weekend, where
lit.
Christine Williamson will be, and on call for that game, myself, Taylor McGregor, and Anish Shroff going to be on the call for Cincinnati and Tulsa coming up. We've had Cincinnati in back-to-back weeks. I have a feeling they're going to be a lot less excited to see us this week after.
Are you do you get to mail it in when you got back-to-back weeks with the same team? Like now you decided like you've got this all.
You should just
mail it in?
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
In a donut shirt.
I am diving into this, trying to give you the best of this upcoming matchup here. I mean, God, this Tulsa team's going to be no slouch right now, all right? Veterans on both sides of the ball in the trenches here. Cincinnati struggled a little bit moving the ball in the middle against Tulane here. Don't trip, man. I do this.
I want to bring up a tweet because since we're talking about Cincinnati, we might as well talk about a group of 5 teams. Not ranked by the playoff committee, but ranked by the AP. See if you can spot a common theme.
Okay.
Number 16, UTSA. Number 20, Houston. Number 21, Coastal Carolina. Number 23, SMU. And number 24, Louisiana.
They're all teams most people don't watch on Saturdays.
First off, how dare you?
What?
Excuse me. I tell you what we're not going to do in here is sit around and slander my sweet, sweet friends in the G5.
I also, no.
Coastal Carolina, listen, a loss on the road in Boone to App State. Like, you watched App State almost beat Miami earlier in this year. A Miami team that is surging right now. How
I'm
dare
sorry.
you?
Miami's not good.
They are surging. Did you just hear what Mike said? Surging.
Tyler Van Dyke is balling, all right? Check back in with the Canes here. That Florida State game's going to be
Pitt is
fun.
currently number 25. I think it should be Miami, but okay, whatever. We'll take it.
Honestly, listen, Pitt should probably be there. I'm surprised Miami, let's put it this way,
Mike
is going
said
to be...
that tonight. He's like, honestly, Pitt should probably be there. And he just moved
Miami's
right on.
going to be ranked before the season's over. Book that one, the way they're going.
What, are we going to start
that.
showing the top 40? Is that what this show's going to do?
No.
I'm throwing all sorts of shade today.
Don't be
That's where we'd have
hater.
to knock this down to get to your height of the people in this room.
You know what? We're gonna bring in some fandom to help us break down one team that's in the top 4.
Oh yeah.
Third down and 3. Walker. Kenny's Walker walking him down. 58 yards. Touchdown, Sparty.
She's famous! Shelby Lacy joining us. She is Irrational Michigan State fan on the show, and she works with the digital team, does incredible work for us. You saw her there on the sideline, just getting hyped for it.
Also, former member of the Michigan State swim team here. How dare you?
She can swim.
I was going to correct you. I'm not a fan. I'm an alum.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, I was a former swimmer for Michigan State, but I might as well be a former football player too at this point.
What?
I mean, that seems like
I do the same thing. I played volleyball at Miami, and also I played football for the Broncos, so it's the same thing.
Okay, I don't think that's true. Now, I will say
that's the same thing at all.
Yes, it is.
By the way, I was on the
I feel
Lakers
you.
for 4 years. What do we do? We're just making things up. Now, Shelby did actually go to Michigan State and was actually an athlete there. So we brought her in for the expertise because, as you saw, as we were rejoining there was a sight of her on the sideline. So obviously you were at the game. What was it like standing at the game, watching your team win, and then realizing that later the moment had been immortalized? Look at the joy.
I mean,
Oh! Look at you and Kenny.
I mean,
And Christine back there.
to be back in East Lansing, at my alma mater in a working capacity, I use the word surreal a lot while talking to people, and just to come out of there with a win, especially a win over Michigan.
Sorry.
just makes it even. I can't even see what you're looking at. I have no
they
idea
just
what you're
looked at my
reacting to.
slippers on the sideline, and it's rude.
Wait, are you wearing a robe and slippers on the sideline?
She showed up.
Back to Shelby.
Yeah.
Wait. So you let Christine walk on the sidelines of your alma mater and your team in a robe and slippers?
Okay, it was not a robe. It was a furry coat. Okay, it
Sure,
just looked very long.
It was very cold, so I approved of the slippers for sure.
Right, see? She loved it. But I would like to say that Shelby is wild to be next to on the sideline because she was hyped the whole time. You know how we're in the media. Also, we were in the press box for a little bit, and Shelby was just on 100.
I think I fell out of my chair 2 times up in the press box.
Yeah,
for sure.
She for sure did. It was a whole scene. I loved it.
Shelby, more exciting to you here, your team being in the top 3, or Kenneth Walker III legitimately being the Heisman frontrunner right now?
Yeah, I mean, the kid scored 5 touchdowns. He almost outscored Michigan's entire team. It was fun to watch Michigan really give it their all, and they still won.
That is
I would
a
like
level
to
of
point
shame.
out that our producer, Chris Cologne, who was also on the sideline, they highlighted his face. He was right next to me. He is a Michigan alum, so Shelby and Cologne were going at it the entire game. Well, Cologne was more reserved because I think he was anticipating an L, but
Cologne
they were going,
always anticipates.
Yeah, of course.
Cologne walks into he's a little Eeyore with walks, oh, look at this. Look at this.
So the thing that actually foreshadowed Michigan State's win was the fact that Shelby beat Cologne in bags before the show.
Bags.
Oh, do you call it bags or cornhole, Shelby?
It's a cornhole.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
cornhole.
It might be a Midwest.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Midwest
so.
is definitely skews bags, but
I think the South goes cornhole,
Yeah,
for sure.
The
I'm
South
from
and the
the
Northeast go cornhole, Midwest
I'm
goes
from
bags.
Florida. I lived in South Carolina. What? I said that.
Christine does this weird thing where she reps 8 different parts of the country, 3 different
and rival schools. Rival schools.
You're in the same conference. How dare you?
So, Shelby, thoughts on the number 3 ranking for Michigan State? We feel good about this? Appropriately ranked, underranked, overranked?
I'm flattered. I think I was very surprised. I expected us to be maybe 5th or 6th, but I'll take 3.
Question: if they lose to Ohio State, does Michigan State still deserve to be in the top 4?
Oh, that is a good question. Yes.
Boom.
There we go.
How's that? Listen, if you're going to be the irrational fan or alum in this case, you don't have to show your work. This isn't the SATs.
Right.
You have to show your work on the SATs? It was a long time ago.
I think
No, you don't have to show your work
Did you take those at Juilliard?
Oh, my God.
Or did you just have to hit the violin?
The number of age jokes on these shows, too. Back when I was there, we just chiseled it out
I was
in
going to say
stone.
that. I thought that's where he was going, but he didn't.
You are old. Fitz is a vampire.
Okay. Shelby, Michigan State going to win the national championship this year?
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Michigan State.
Irrational.
East Lansing is the only
It's
place
okay.
I've ever gotten the middle finger from an 8-year-old at.
Oh, wow.
We got off the bus.
Was that back in 2010 with the fake field goal and Michigan State?
Oh, wow.
No, it was
Notre
in
Dame?
2012 when you guys were ranked number 10 and we came in and beat you by double digits.
Oh.
Was that the year you got your butt kicked in the national championship game or a different one?
Yeah, it was. I was still there. I was still there, though, all right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Don't lose sight. Believe me, that final score is going to get closer
amount
and
of
closer
shade.
the older and older I get.
Oh, that's amazing.
amount of shade.
Even though the internet's only going to become more potent by then. I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but trust me, as the old guy in the room, nobody looks that far back in history. Once you're more than 5 years old, everybody forgets. Shelby, you're the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you, guys.
Congrats on an irrational fandom and a great year.
Yeah,
You guys
go
luck.
green. Go green.
Good luck.
go white.
Go white.
That's what we're supposed
Oh, yeah,
to say. in
that's-
response to
I
that.
do
Thank you for
Yeah,
being
yeah.
the Michigan school that I can palatably digest a lot
Yeah,
easier.
there are a lot of people on campus that Mike is not friends with until the week they play Michigan. And then all of a sudden, the week they play Michigan, bang.
I want to be clear. By the way, Shelby was really composed there. When I am the irrational fan, I'm unbiased college football analyst for you guys. The hours where I'm watching Notre Dame on the weekends, I am hell on earth. I am the worst person in the world.
Let's be clear. Shelby was not hell on earth, but she was pretty a lot on Saturday for sure on the sideline. That you saw the picture.
That's wow. That's what happens when you're watching one team that you root for as opposed to rival teams in the same conference.
Can we just not talk about Clemson in Miami? Because I don't know
That's fairly
if you know.
easy to do
Yeah, I
this
can
year.
say right now.
Neither one of them's ranked.
Golic already said that Miami should be ranked, so let's just.
All right, let's get some expertise in this. Ryan McGee going to join us. We're going to get his thoughts on all things rankings and reactions, and most importantly, all things. Oh, look at that!
Oh,
look at that! He's got the Cheez-Its
Family size.
Wait, you guys ready?
Am I doing this right?
Yes, you are.
Am I doing this right?
Wait,
Okay.
you guys ready?
Yes.
Just checking.
1, 2, 3.
Happy
birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, dear Ryan. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, buddy.
I love Fitz saying he's the old guy in the room. You're not. I mean, just so you know, I'm not telling you how old I am, but you ain't the old guy in the room. But thank you very much. That makes my day. You're the first ones to sing to me today. I don't know what that says about my friends and family, but thank you.
Now, they're telling me I'm supposed to ask you about the playoffs, and we'll get to that in a second. What kind of cake are we eating on our birthday?
So we're going so they got this place that makes mini bundt cakes, like just individuals. That way we don't have to share. You can get whatever you want. It's like getting your own pizza, right? So I have like a mini bundt cake, like lemon bundt cake, waiting for me upstairs with a big giant candle on top of it.
Oh my God, I love that.
I believe I know what you're talking about.
Is this this is a chain, right? Like, and if it's a chain we're thinking of, we're not going to mention them until they pay us.
Right.
But if it's a chain we're thinking of, my God, they are delightful.
Fire, straight fire.
All right, now we'll ask you about the college.
I heard a lot of confusion about break apart bread or whatever a little while ago, spoon bread. And I'm like, listen, I'm surprised they won't even let them stay in Texas. They don't know what spoon bread is. I'm going to make them Google that.
Right. Speaking of the people in Texas, what are your thoughts on the first rankings that they have released?
I mean, listen, I get Cincinnati's complaint. I think it's a valid complaint. I think they have the win of the game they had circled and had circled for years now going up to South Bend. But at the end of the day, they looked awful the last couple of weeks. And we can't say we want people to sit in a room and give it the eye test, and then you look terrible for 2 weeks. Well, listen, Oklahoma, it wasn't taken care of because they've looked terrible. Alabama had a bad weekend on the road against what I think is a pretty good team, and their eye test other than that weekend has been pretty good. So I think that there's a chance to move. But listen, at the end of the day, you are penalized if you aren't a brand name. I saw somebody put on Twitter tonight, or like Cincinnati isn't ranked higher because they weren't good in 1953. That's pretty fair, but because I do think it matters. And listen, you guys have all sat in these rooms like I have on the mock selection committees. And there's a tendency in that room with media people or analysts or former players, whatever, to lean toward the brand names. And so I think whether it's conscious or not, I think that's absolutely, you're being penalized if you're not in a Power 5 conference, if you aren't a traditional power. And so you have to have a perfect season. And Cincinnati has not had a perfect season because the last couple of weeks, they've looked pedestrian. And because of that, they've been walked across the street and said, maybe you can join us in December, but you better look better.
I think the other thing, we talked to Heather Dinich, and she said one thing that surprised her most is where Oregon is at number 4. That's something that I think is surprising to all three of us on this couch. Is it surprising to you?
Well, no, because when you do these mock selection committees, they give you this big 3-ring binder, and there aren't a lot of guidelines. But on that very front page, it says consideration should be given to conference championships, to head-to-head wins, like it's listed in there. And so they have a head-to-head win over Ohio State. Ohio State has unquestionably looked better over the last few weeks than Oregon. But the reality is they played. Oregon went on the road. They beat Ohio State in the horseshoe. And the committee wanted to, reward them for that. So, I was surprised they were as high as they were. But once I saw where Ohio State was, I knew the committee's not going to rank Oregon behind them.
Ryan, we see every year one team may be able to flirt with the playoff coming from outside of that initial 6 group up top here. How far do you think we get down in the rankings of teams with realistic playoff chances that are still left on the table?
I think Cincinnati's it. I think they've been anointed. I think they're the team that have been picked. So as a result, they're going to have to do it. The problem is, again, history is not with them. Because when they didn't put UCF in that one year, to me it was a statement of they're not going to put you in. Because you have to have the perfect resume to get in, or you just have to have a lot of help. So here we have a season where a team has run the table, where a team has tried to schedule more aggressively, and they've gotten a lot of help in that almost everyone in the top 25 has lost at some point this year. And there they still sit. And they're right behind Wake Forest, or right ahead of Wake Forest. And I love Wake Forest being up there. But I, I live in North Carolina. My brother went to Wake Forest. Go Deeks. But they're not as good as Cincinnati. But that's just the way that life is going to be if you're not in the big group. And if everybody that complains about conference realignment and people jumping around, this is why you have to jump around, because you can move around all you want in the Gang of Five. Those are my people. I love them. But at the end of the day, if you're not in the Power 5 conferences, you're probably not going to get that serious of a look. And I'm not saying that's fair. I'm just saying it's how it is.
So, Ryan, just to be clear then, looking at Oklahoma at 8, looking at that Demon Deacon team at number 10 here, do you think they have a realistic path forward to the playoff here, or are they on the outside looking in no matter what basically now?
I think you're penalized, again, because you're Wake Forest. And I think that your brand name matters. I think Oklahoma will get breaks as they go that maybe Wake Forest won't, because Wake Forest doesn't have the pedigree. And Oklahoma's been in the playoff almost every single year. And Oklahoma has the lifelong resume going back 100 years, and Wake Forest doesn't have that. And again, the brand names matter in the room. And I don't think it's a conscious thing. I just think that's the way it is. Listen, you look at the committee, there's a lot of people in there that you think would be, fighting to the ground to protect the non-Power 5 teams, because there's a lot of non-Power 5 reps in the room. There always have been. But at the end of the day, when we get to December and January, the brand names are always in there. Oh, by the way, so I have this mic flag, right? And I can rotate it. Like ESPN.
Oh my gosh, that's
Marty
so
McGee.
fancy.
Oh!
That is so fancy.
Hey, let's talk about UT San Antonio. The real story tonight, they're jobbed. They don't have a number next to their name. We're in the bottom 10 forever. Come on, give the Roadrunners a week. Just give them a week to celebrate. Don't worry about them in December, January.
Right.
Give my people some help. Right?
Ryan,
I
from
agree.
your
10
lips
nation.
to God's ears, I could not agree more here. It is an absolute crime. We had Rank Coastal as the rallying cry last year. Rank the Roadrunners is the rallying cry from here on out, Ryan. I am 100% with you, brother.
Ryan, we appreciate
Meep.
And there we got it. Nothing tops that. Happy birthday, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you.
Thanks, y'all.
That's the best. Meep, meep.
Meep, meep, baby.
All
Rank
right.
the Roadrunners.
Meep, meep.
So one thing we like to do on Ranking Reaction, presented by Cheez-It, is we like to give you a ranking that matters way less than the college football ranking. So every week, a different one of us takes it, and then you're in charge of it, and then we get to react to it. So this week, Mike, you have been put in charge of it, and because of Cincinnati and game day and the fact that you're calling the game, and inspired by Cincinnati and Grater's ice cream, really, we had the idea of you ranking the top 10 ice cream flavors.
The best ice cream place in the country for my money here. Quote me on that one, tweet me on that one. It ain't even close. Top 10 ice cream flavors here. Coming off the top with it. Mint chocolate chip, granddaddy of them all, sitting there ready to rock with you. Chocolate, cookies and cream. The black raspberry chocolate chip is a nod to the Graders folks there. I mean, I see no flaws in this list. I put it together. What say you guys?
Okay, first of all, 10 is not a flavor. It is a type of dessert.
She is
Sherbet?
right about that.
Sure, I mean, it's basically ice cream. Why are you guys going to try and bog this down with semantics?
What
It's ice
kind?
cream.
There's like orange, there's peach, there's lemon,
it's always rainbow.
there's
We always go
strawberry.
rainbow.
It's some fruity flavor of just off ice cream here. I don't know why that's a revelation to people. It's basically ice cream.
By the way, coffee, and you know I drink iced coffee all year round. Coffee is not meant to be an ice cream flavor. Like, we can just agree with that. Coffee is a terrible ice cream flavor.
This is what I will say. I don't know if I ever want to listen to Fitz's food takes.
They're so bad.
Because they're not that good. So I
You
disagree
don't like
with
peanut
you.
butter. You walked in and you said you're out on peanut butter.
We gotta out you.
Let me take a moment and just say I
got
have
Monster.
tried really hard to like peanut butter. But
You shouldn't have to try. It's great.
It literally makes me want to vomit the smell of it, the taste of it.
Oh, I sit on
like
the couch and just eat it off the end of a knife.
Yeah,
like I go with a spoon, just a big spoon.
I don't know why I use a knife but not a spoon.
I wish I liked peanut butter. I understand that people love it. I used to tell people I was allergic to it just because they have this reaction.
So that no one in the room can have it then? How dare you?
People in glass
I would
houses
like it
shouldn't
like
throw
that.
rocks.
I
Like
would love
maybe
it like
before
that.
you trash my food takes, you should
Listen,
admit to the world
at
you don't
least-
like peanut butter.
At least I tried to like peanut butter. Your food takes are just like bad.
No, I've tried. I'll try anything, but coffee, ice cream, I try. It's just not good.
By the
Also, the
way-
way chocolate was way too high. Vanilla
I
should be
agree with
higher
that.
than chocolate.
Why you gotta put vanilla up over chocolate?
A good vanilla
Let
ice
me
cream?
just tell you right now, and I know that this is controversial, but like vanilla bean ice cream is the OG.
I mean, I'll go vanilla bean ice cream at number 2 on this list. I don't mind the mint chocolate chip at the top. I really don't.
I don't actually mind that either.
I thought that was going to be more controversial because there are, like, mint chocolate chip, you either love it or hate it. Like,
Yeah.
I've heard people tell me it tastes like toothpaste. I don't get it.
I mean,
I like it. I think it
I
tastes
don't know
good.
that I would put it at number 1, but I don't have a problem with it at number 1. But if
It's
you've got
refreshing.
good vanilla, I'll put good vanilla.
Yeah,
By the
for
way,
sure.
Strawberry omitted because it stinks.
Like smells?
Strawberry ice cream is delightful.
Bad.
No, strawberry.
Not good.
You're weird.
Strawberry
Have
ice cream
you
is
ever had
delicious.
the strawberry milkshake at Chick-fil-A?
It brings all the boys to the yard.
I've had every milkshake everywhere. I'm fat. I've been fat for a long time.
The milkshake
That's a
brings
weird.
all the boys.
Strawberry is so
Their
much
life.
better.
It's better than yours.
I don't
the show
understand.
over
I don't know
yet?
what you're doing.
Oh,
He's
I don't
quoting
know what I'm
Elite.
doing either.
Yeah, like it's a song, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Strawberry is really good. Strawberry should definitely be higher than chocolate.
Listen, I'm sorry I made the perfect list here. I am so excited. to
Your
get the
list is
Raiders
trash,
into this.
but this show is not. We're back every single week and to react to all of the rankings as they come out. He's Mike Golic Jr. I'm Christine Williamson. I'm Christine Williamson.
That's the second
I'm
time
Ryan
in my
Burgundy?
lifetime that he has done that. He has done that multiple times on shows, just FYI.
He's
he
Mike
wants to be
Golic
me.
Jr.
Obviously, that's what it
She's
is.
Christine Williamson. I'm
I don't know
Jason
what it is.
Fitz. It's good that I know who I am. This has been Rankings Reaction presented by Cheez-It. Thanks for hanging out with us.
He lies about being
Christine.
5'9". He's 5'8".